What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with kind of an interesting video that I wanted to do. Now today I'm going to be talking about a subject that I've kind of touched on in other videos, but I seem to get a lot of flack and some criticism sometimes because I'm so just critical of Bungie and how they handle Destiny. So I've done videos before where I kind of try to explain what the reasoning is behind that, but I figured I would go in today and just kind of do more of an in-depth explanation. Now, my history with Bungie, I go back all the way through all the Halo games, some of the Oni games they had, and just really, the thing is, Bungie was an amazing company. I used to love Bungie. I used to think they were one of the best companies in video games. I used to think they were just amazing. They had some really great games, starting with Halo. Halo Combat Evolved to me is still one of the best games that it's ever come out. It revolutionized the first-person shooter genre when it came out. It offered a huge variety in gameplay. The PvP was incredible, very balanced multiplayer, and that was kind of a hallmark of the Halo series all the way up until, well, Halo 4 when 343 took over the series and Bungie left to go work on Destiny. So the one thing I really wanted to do is I wanted to kind of go into Destiny and show you guys, content-wise, what the games are. And this is assuming I can actually get onto Destiny right now, because here you're getting a live look at one of the main problems I've been having with Destiny since the game release, and that's just the horrible network connection that Bungie has with their game. It's so hard to get on and just play sometimes, and it really drives me nuts. So just bear with me for a minute. We're going to see if we can actually get into play Destiny here. And if not, I don't know, we'll move on to something else. But, anyways, it's just, that's the thing with Destiny is I think a lot of people that play Destiny must just be new to games and must be new to Bungie, because they, there's so many white knighters for this game and so many just blind fanboys who just think Destiny is just incredible and it's this amazing AAA title, and it's just like they just, to me, I look at a large majority of the Destiny community and I just wonder what their gaming background is. What games have they played before, and where do they get off thinking that Destiny is this huge content-filled masterpiece? I just don't understand it, because as someone who's been playing video games for a long time, my generation, grew up with the NES, the Super Nintendo, going back even to the Atari, I sit here and I wonder, what other games these people are playing that makes them think Destiny is this hugely amazing game. And it looks like the network is finally going to cooperate here, so we might actually be able to get in. So what I want to do here is I'm going to go into Destiny. We're not going to be doing any gameplay. I'm just going to basically show you guys, content-wise, what you're actually getting with Destiny. And one of the main reasons I'm very critical of Bungie when it comes to this game, because of what I expected after all the hype and the announcement and everything that led up to it. Now the thing is, Bungie built up a huge amount of goodwill with the Halo series and with their prior work, and it seems to me like that's what they used to sell Destiny, and they didn't actually put out a very competent game. So all we're going to do here really is we're going to go here into the destination map. So let's talk about what you can actually do in Destiny. And I'm going to talk about this from a PvE perspective versus some of the Halo games. And mainly the first thing I want to talk about is the level design in Destiny and the level mechanics and the things that Destiny really just, it just kind of baffles me. Now let's look at, I've got pretty much all the content unlocked in the game. I have the Dark Below DLC, so you'll be able to see all those stages. So let's see what happens when you get into Destiny. This was one of the first missions you do on Earth. You basically just go through and let your ghost decode a bunch of stuff, and then you go kill a fallen boss to get your warp drive. You have a level 3 story where you investigate reports of hidden power in the Cosmodrome, and you basically just go let your ghost unlock a couple doors and kill a boss. You've got the last array, which is the final mission on Earth, which you basically get to the last stage, you let your ghost deploy and let him unlock a computer while you defend against 3 waves of enemies. And that's a common point that's going to be in this video as we talk about this. You have the War Mind, where you basically go through and you have your ghost decode a bunch of things, and in the final part of that, you deploy him into a computer, and then you have to defend against 2 to 3 waves of enemies. So you've got Horde mode again. Now you've got some of the Dark Below missions. The Fist of Crota, you basically just killed a bunch of enemies. There really was no content in that mission. That was the first story mission in the Dark Below. It took a whole grand like 8 or 9 minutes to finish. You have Siege of the War Mind, which you basically go to the War Mind's bunker and you fight through some enemies, and you get to the last part, and it's basically you fight off 3 waves of enemies while you're trying to fix the War Mind. It's just another Horde mode, and that's a very common theme in this game. It seems like everything boils down to that. You have the Devil's Lair Strike, which, you know, there's if you're on Xbox One, you have, I believe, 6 strikes on the game. If you're on PlayStation, I think you have 8, because you have 2 additional ones. All of the strikes boil down to roughly the same thing. You go into an area, you fight off 3 waves of enemies while your ghost decodes a computer. And then you go to a middle point of a strike where you might kill some enemies, and a couple of the strikes you have to fight off a tank, a big vehicle that, you know, you have to blow off the legs and then shoot the weak point. And then you get to the boss, which is just basically, essentially a bullet sponge that moves in a pattern around the map, and the only real danger comes from the ads that spawn during the boss fight. The strikes are incredibly repetitive, and they're really no different than any of the campaign content, because it's just the same thing. It's just a Horde mode over and over, and it's one of the reasons I don't really understand why people want the Prison of Elders and the House of Wolves to be a Horde mode, because you essentially have Horde mode throughout the entire campaign at Destiny. Why do we want that to be one of the big content pieces we get in the DLC? The other strike on Earth is the Will of Crota, which is Omnigul. And again, you go to the first part of this strike, you get into a big room full of Fallen, and you have to kill off 2 waves of Fallen, and then it spawns a wave of Hive. And once you kill the wave of Hive and the rest of the Fallen, another wave of Fallen comes down the stairs, and it's just Horde mode. That's all it is. And then you get to the next level of the stage, and you kill off a couple waves of Fallen, 3 or 4 ships will fly in and drop off more Fallen. It's just Horde mode over and over, constantly over and over again. You get to the final boss, Omnigul. When you get her down to 75% health, she summons a bunch of ads, and it's Horde mode. You get her to 50% health, she summons a bunch of ads, and it's Horde mode. It's the same thing over and over again. And that's just on Earth. You know, then you go to the moon, and, you know, you've got the Dark Bullet Beyond, which is basically a mission where you deploy your ghost a few times to unlock items, and then you fight off a huge wave of Hive at the very end to get in a Horde mode type situation. The World's Grave, the same thing. You get to the very end, it's a Hive library, you deploy your ghost into the library to decode the information, and you fight off several waves of Hive that come into the room. You know, it's just the same. This is Awakening, this is a Dark Below mission. You get to the very final room in this, and you have to kill off a few waves of Hive before the crystal launches, and then you destroy the crystal. It's constant Horde mode over and over and over again. Chamber of Night at the end of the mission, you put your ghost into a little thing to look at it, and then it summons a bunch of waves of Hive and then an ogre you have to kill. I mean, guys, we're only on the moon. This is the second part of the campaign, and you've already just got such repetitive level design. I mean, that's basically all it is. Every mission is the exact same. The Summoning Pit strike on the moon, you get to the first room, and what is it? Dinklebot has to unlock a door for about 5 or 6 minutes, and while he's unlocking that door, you have to fight off 3 waves of Hive. It's the same pattern that's used in the Sepix Prime strike at the very beginning part of it. If you look at the strike on Mars with Valis Tarak, you know, the first part is basically you have to kill 3 bosses, you know, and they come in, it's like you kill the first boss, and then a ship comes and drops off the second boss, and then a third boss comes out of a cave. It's like, it's just the same thing over and over and over again. That's all you're doing in this game, is the same repetitive content. It's the same level design on just about every single mission in the campaign. And I imagine if I went through every one of these missions individually, I would show you, it's pretty much, I'd say 90% of the time, it's the exact same mechanics in every single stage. Even the Black Garden, this is the final stage of the game. You fight through, and you basically face waves and waves of Vex at the very end. It's a Horde mode, and you fight 3 different bosses that are basically a copy and paste of a boss you fight earlier in the game. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. You have such very limited content in this game, and I don't understand where all the praise comes from, quite honestly, because the level design here is just so lazy. It's like they just copy and pasted everything throughout the campaign, and there's just no content here. There's no content, there's no variety in the gameplay. To me, honestly, there's nothing enjoyable about the gameplay. Now, Destiny does get things right, obviously. You know, in my opinion, this game has got the best mechanics of any first-person shooter I have ever played. The gunplay is tight. The movement system is amazing. The sound in this game is incredible. The gun designs, the sound designs is great. The skyboxes, the soundtrack. There's a lot of stuff this game has going right, just the basics. But when it gets down to the actual gameplay and what you can do in the game, there's just nothing there. I mean, it is basic. This is a game for, you know, like, to me, kids would enjoy this game because it's very repetitive. It's very simple. You don't have to really do a lot of thinking. You just go through and you do the same thing over and over again. There's nothing dynamic about the stages. There's nothing dynamic about the gameplay. And for me, as a Halo fan, when I look at this game made by Bungie, where are the vehicles? Where are the vehicles in this game? You get the Pikes that you get to ride maybe once through the whole campaign. You got your Sparrow, which does absolutely nothing. You know, and as a player who came from 10 years of Halo with the Warthog and the Wraith and the Tank and the Banshee, and the vehicles added so much to that game in terms of variety and dynamic gameplay in each level. And I'm going to get into that when we go into the Halo portion of this video. Again, this is a comparison of what Bungie is now to what Bungie was before, and why I'm trying to figure out where Bungie went, like where they went wrong. How did they get so lazy with their gaming design and things like that? Is it Activision? Is it Bungie? I mean, we'll never know. So then let's get in. You know, we've already talked about the strikes. You know, you've got your strike playlist. You can play it, you know, whatever varying level you are, 18 up to 26. You've got your Nightfall strike, which is the same thing as the regular strikes. It just adds in a bunch of modifiers. Again, this is very repetitive content. Here's the thing. I've played probably over 400 strikes in this game since it came out. And considering there's only 6 of them, I mean, you can just imagine how many times I've played each strike in this game. It's just, at this point, it's very boring, and there's really, you know, what's the point? You play it to get a couple of blue engrams, which you're going to take to the Cryptarch to get some blue gear that's for like level 24, and you're level 32. I mean, a lot of people think that the Cryptarch and these strike playlists seem to spit out exotics and legendaries all the time, but guys, let me tell you something. A lot of the videos you see on YouTube of the gear and the loot drops, those guys are not getting that all the time. It's just, they are basically editing their stuff to show you the only times they get good drops, and you see so much of it, you get this impression that basically, you know, that's all I'm going to get when I go play a strike, is I'm going to get all this piles of purple loot and exotics and left and right, and loot's going to be flying out of the pinata. That's not how it works. You also have to take into account a lot of the YouTubers who play Destiny are sinking hundreds of hours into this game. A lot. I mean, if you looked at some of the play times for some of these guys, and yeah, it's their job. They do it a full time to make money on YouTube, but it's astronomical how much they play this game compared to you and I. So obviously they're going to have a much better chance at getting those exotic and purple items because they're playing the game in an exponentially a larger amount than we are. So you can't believe everything you see, you know, especially when you see those loot drop videos and things like that. They're not getting that all the time. It's very rarely, but they're just showing that to you. You don't really see the constant grind and the fact that you can run, I mean, I can run strikes for 4 hours and max out my 100 Vanguard marks in one day if I want to, and I'll just have a pile of blue crap engrams that turn into absolutely nothing. It's not all loot all the time with Destiny. And again, same thing here. Very repetitive content. It's the same 6 or 8 strikes over and over and over and over again. Each strike has the exact same mechanics for the most part. The only 2 that remotely are different are the Devil's Lair and Valis Tarak, because you have the tank in the middle, and that's really the only difference between the rest of the strikes, is you actually have a giant tank boss you have to fight. There's still the, you know, kill three guys, 3 bosses, fight off 3 waves. You know, there's still the same bullet sponge boss with a bunch of ads at the end of the strike. So it's, again, Destiny is a very repetitive, it's the same simple content over and over and over again, and it makes me again wonder who are the people. You know, this game has got so much support, so many White Knighters. I wonder how many of these people, you know, what their gaming history is, what games they've played. You know, getting back to it, like I said, there's some good things about the game, but it's all mechanic stuff. It's not content. It's not, you know, any of the gameplay experience. You know, I go back and play Halo and Mass Effect now, and I gotta admit, I get into those games and it's like I feel so sluggish with the gunplay because I've played Destiny. I'm used to the gunplay in Destiny, which is very good. But the thing is, those games are old games. They're games from 2010, before 2010. And the sad fact is, those older games, even if the mechanics aren't up to snuff, the dynamic gameplay you get in those games and the fun that you have and the experience is just head and shoulders above anything you can ever get in Destiny. And I just don't understand where all these, you know, White Knight people come from for this game. Now here's the other thing with Destiny that drives me up the wall. The Crucible is actually a pretty solid PvP. I have to admit, I know a lot of people hate the Crucible, and yes, there are issues with the Crucible. There's some weapon balance problems, which I'll get into in another video. But I gotta be honest, the Crucible is one of the main reasons I even still play this game, because the PvP can be very enjoyable. There actually is a bit of a skill gap. There is, you have to know the movement system. You have to know the strength of each character in terms of what skills you have and how you can use them. You can do different builds. You can run a melee shotgun last word build. You can run a mid-range build. There's lots of different weapons you can use. I really find the Crucible very enjoyable, but the problem is it's the same simple repetitive thing over and over again. There's not a lot of variety here. You've got Control, which is your basic. I thought this would be like Domination or Conquest in Battlefield and Call of Duty, but it basically boils down to a glorified team deathmatch, because you have to capture points, and you get more points for your kills the more control points you own. But I figured at the beginning this was going to be like Call of Duty, and you have to hold at least 2 of the 3 flags for the majority of the match in order to win, but that's not the case. I've had teams that were really bad where we had all 3 flag points, and we still lost because the other team obviously got more kills. Every game mode in this really boils down to a team deathmatch. There's not a whole lot of variety. And again, that's something that really bothers me coming from Destiny, and coming from Bungie. So you got Control, but then you've got Inferno Control, which is essentially Control. There's just no radar, and there's less point scoring. So it's the same thing, it's just they made a few additions to it. There's nothing really major there. Clash is just a 6 versus 6 deathmatch. Combined Arms is basically a little bit bigger maps. It's just 6v6 deathmatch. And it says with vehicles, but what happens on these maps more often than not is people just camp with snipers. The vehicle play in Destiny is just really, it sucks. I'm just going to be honest, it sucks. It's nothing compared to how the Halo games were. And that's, like I said, that's one dynamic. I don't understand how they missed out on that given what they've done in the past. You've got Rumble, which is just a free-for-all, and kind of like, most free-for-all. Again, just a deathmatch variety. You've got Skirmish, which is you can revive your teammates. It's 3v3, but again, it's just team deathmatch, basically. Then you've got Rumble. Like I said, it's the same. There's one for Dark Below if you bought the DLC for the DLC Crucible maps. So when you look at, and this is going to be Trials of Osiris right here in the middle, I'm pretty sure. So when you look at PvP in Destiny, it really bothers me because you have such a kind of a really fun mechanic with the PvP in terms of the 3 different classes and the movement system you have with everybody. And you got blink jump, and the Titans have a shoulder charge, and there's all kinds of different mechanics you can use in different things. I mean, they knocked it out of the park on this game in terms of gunplay, mechanics, movement system, everything. But where's the content? And people are going to say, oh, this is the first time they've done this and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. They've been doing amazing PvP for the last decade. The Halo games had some of the best PvP and multiplayer because of the variety and the things you could do. There's capture the flag, there's, SWAT, there's firefight, there's stuff to do co-op, there's something for everybody to enjoy. And we're going to see that here in a minute when I actually we're going to go into one of the Halo games, and I'm going to show you guys the differences and while I talk about what you can do in the Halo games. So that's just a look here at Destiny in a nutshell. Really is just what it boils down to. It's a game with great mechanics. It's a game with great graphics. It's a game with an amazing soundtrack. There are good things about this game, but this game completely deserves all the 6 and 7 out of 10s that it got when it released, because the content, again, where is it? That's what I have to ask, and that's why I keep kind of going off on Bungie and why I'm very critical of Bungie, because this game, even with the reveal they did on House of Wolves, what people don't realize is all they showed was a bunch of new gear, and they showed a couple of new reputation vendors. It's more grind, it's more gear, it's not content. It's just more stuff. I don't play the game to grind to get guns. I want to play the game to enjoy the gameplay, enjoy the story, enjoy the PvP. And it's hard to do that when it's all the same thing over and over and over again. But, and there's also some other things, it's the simple things, like Bungie, in an article back in December, they were talking about the development of the game, and they basically said they don't know how to skip cutscenes in Destiny, and they don't know how to code it, and they don't know, well, if you're on a fire team with 3 people, how are you able to skip that cutscene, but then the other 2 people have to watch it, or how can we do it so if they want to watch it, they can, and you can't. I was reading this article, and I was completely baffled, because I was thinking back, I said, okay, well, Halo Reach came out in 2010. It's a 4-year-old game, much older games, mechanics, game style. And in Halo Reach, if you were playing the co-op mode, if you were playing the single-player campaign, if you were playing co-op campaign, you could skip cutscenes simply by pressing one of the buttons on your controller. And if the other two players on your, like let's say you were in a 4-man team on Halo and you're running through the campaign on Legendary, you want to skip the cutscene, you hit the button, you skip the cutscene. The other 3 people on your team, if they want to watch the cutscene, they watch the cutscene, and then when it's over with, they just join you in the mission. You can wait for them, or you can go ahead and start killing Covenant. But they had the option in a game they made in 2010. Yet they're acting in 2014, 2015 like it's this just groundbreaking thing where they can't figure it out, and it's like so complicated. And they use that excuse a lot with a lot of their coding and a lot of the game bugs, like with the raid fixes that took them 7 months to do. I mean, they can nerf the crap out of weapons that they think that people whine about in the Crucible in like 2.5 seconds, but it takes them 7 months to fix a raid complaint that was in the game from day one. It takes them 7 months to fix special ammunition in the Crucible, which was a complaint in the game from day one in PvP. That's just the thing with Bungie. It's like they used to be this amazing company. They had a great community. They had a great vibe with their community, and now that's just not there. The Destiny community, save for, there's a lot of wonderful people in it. Don't get me wrong. There's some great YouTubers. There's some great people. The Destiny community, though, the majority of the stuff you see on Reddit, the stuff you see on the forums, it's just very toxic. There's just people are always fighting about everything. And, you know, and I'm sure I don't help because I'm always critical of the game, but I try to point out the mechanical flaws the game has, point out the flaws in the content, and try to show that it's not exactly this amazing experience like so many people white knight for it. And we're going to see that a little bit here when I get into the Halo part of this video, which is actually I'm going to jump into right now. So give me just a minute here, guys, and we are going to switch over to the Halo side of things. I'm going to show you some comparisons, show you what Bungie used to be compared to what they are now, and hopefully that'll show you guys some of the reasons why I am so critical of them as a company now. So hang on just one second, guys. We're going to get into some Halo in just a minute. Alright, guys, welcome to Reach. Now you can just see there in that intro to Bungie's game back in 2010, just right off the bat, even the intro was a lot better than what we get with Destiny. And you can just kind of feel that it's going to be a much better experience. So some of you Halo fans may be kind of miffed that I chose Reach to compare, but I have to be honest, Reach is actually my favorite game in the Halo series. For a variety of reasons. I know a lot of people don't like Reach. I really don't get it, to be honest. And I think one of the things is it's mainly because you don't play as Master Chief. You actually play as different Spartans in the game. And that's actually what I really liked about it, because at this point in the Halo series, I was getting a little burned out on Chief always being the character. And I thought it was nice to have some different variety and some really well-developed Spartan main characters that, you know, you didn't really have the assistance of Cortana in building them up. As like with Chief, a lot of his development comes from being with Cortana, but with Noble Team you get a lot of just really decent character development with all of the different characters. The other thing I really liked about Reach was the customization. Obviously you can make your own Spartan and put them in the campaign cutscenes and everything, and in 2010 that was pretty cool. You know, there's not the in-depth customization in terms of like fit your face and things like you have in Destiny, but overall in terms of the armor and the colors, I think you get a much better system of customization. And the other thing I really liked about Reach was we've always, you know, if you read the books, the Halo books, the Covenant were just this massive war machine that always just decimated humanity. In the first couple of Halo games, you get the feeling that humanity is like holding their own, that the UNSC is actually like pretty powerful and pretty good, but the reality is the Covenant usually smashed them to bits every time they fought. And in the first couple of Halo games, you just didn't get that sense and that depth. It was more like, you know, we're one Spartan and we're just kicking the crap out of the Covenant for 3 straight games. And then all of a sudden you get Reach, and it's a much darker game than the other Halo games, I think, because you pretty much get the crap kicked out of you by the Covenant the entire time. The whole victory in Reach is that you manage to get Cortana off the planet to get to Master Chief. There's no real victory. It's like, you know, one stage your victory might be, oh, we managed to get 2 of the escape shuttles while a couple of the other ones got blown up. We managed to save 200 people, but meanwhile the whole city is getting completely nuked. So the Reach was a very dark game, and it really showed how capable the Covenant were when they decided, you know, we're going to just go destroy something the humans have. Like, Reach was one of the main military areas for the UNSC, and the Covenant just ran roughshod over it like nothing. Anyways, that aside, that's the main reasons I do enjoy Reach. I know there's some differences in the game versus the book, and that's also a point of contention some people don't like, but the main purpose of this is to show, for a gameplay experience, how much better this older Bungie game is versus Destiny. So we're going to go right into the main menu here to start off. And you can see you got a couple of different options here. You got matchmaking, you got firefight, you got custom games, you got Forge, and you've got theater. Now these last 2 things alone right here are what I feel make Halo and Bungie's older work in general just so much better than what's in Destiny. But we'll get to that in a minute. So let's start just with the campaign just in general. You know, I went through Destiny and showed you guys all the different campaign levels somewhat, and showed you how it's just such a very repetitive content. You're doing the same thing. Now Halo is a much more linear game. Obviously it's a campaign like most shooters have, where you go through, you've got a very linear objective, you progress to the stage. It's not as open world as Destiny. However, I feel like the content in it is just so much better. You know, you can start with the first mission in Reach, Winter Contingency. You know, it's basically you're just getting in there to get your feet wet, to get the mechanics and, you know, feel your way around the game. But even in that first stage, you have a section where you get to drive a vehicle, and you've got one of your Spartans on the back of the vehicle with his gun, and he can shoot Covenant. You can run over Covenant with the vehicle to kill them. You don't have to fight on foot if you want to. It's an added mechanic and an added dynamic to the game, and it's one of the things that I really just feel set Halo apart from a lot of other shooters, and it's one of those hallmarks that Bungie had way back in the day that made their games a little bit better. You also get to ride in a helicopter in the Falcon for part of it. And there's just a lot of different, even in just the first stage, you're introduced to a lot of really cool gameplay elements. Then when you go to Sword Base, which is the second stage, you start off getting dropped off on a Falcon on foot, and you fight through a little area on foot using whatever weapons you can find there, your assault rifle or your battle rifle. You can steal the Covenant weapons, use those. The next part you get to, there is a section where there's 2 Wraiths, which are the big Covenant tanks that are attacking the base. You get to pick up a target locator, which is basically you call in like artillery from above, and it's really cool. It's a laser designator, and if you're lucky enough, you can take out both of the tanks in one shot, and you can save that laser designator for later in the stage and blow up a bunch of enemies with it. But it's really cool. You know, it's another added kind of element, special attack type thing that's there in the game. And after you get through that little stage and you fight off the Covenant that are there in that area, a Pelican comes in, it drops off a Warthog. And Warthog is one of the main vehicles you use in Halo. It's a 3-person vehicle. You can have one person driving, one person in the right side who can shoot, and then you've got a gun on the back. It can be a machine gun or a rocket, you know, launcher. And there's also the Gauss cannon, which is like a miniature MAC gun on the back of the Warthog. And you spend the next bit of the stage, you drive to one spot where you have to turn on an anti-aircraft gun. You have to go to another spot and set up some communications. But it's really, it adds a very fun element to the game because you can drive through, you can fight the Covenant in different ways using those vehicles. You know, like I said, you can have one person with rockets sitting in the side of the Warthog, sniping, you know, shooting rockets and blowing stuff up while you're driving around. You can run over Covenant with the Warthog. You know, somebody's in the back. You can park the Warthog up on a hill overlooking your objective and have your buddy sitting in the back as a gunner covering you with the machine gun while you jump out and you run all the way down and are fighting the Covenant on foot trying to get to the objective. There's just so many different ways, and this is the second, third stage of the game. You've already got these amazing dynamics for the game that really make for some very awesome co-op experiences, and even in single player, if the Marines and, you know, your other Spartans aren't driving like idiots, you can actually get some pretty fun stuff there. And then the stage progresses. You go back into an on-foot mode where you fight into the base and go up to the very top of the base, and there's a spot where you have to take out a bunch of flying Covenant ships with rocket launchers. So there's all kinds of different, you know, kind of epic parts of the stage. It progresses, and it's a long, even if it's linear, it's a nice progression through the stage where you get to do a lot of different things. You have a lot of different gameplay elements. that make for a very fun. It makes for a lot of replay, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. Now, Nightfall is kind of interesting. It's basically a stealth mission with snipers. You can play it a lot of different ways. You can go through and snipe and try to take guys out quietly, try to get assassinations on enemies, or you can just go through guns blazing, you know, however you want to do it. You get into Tip of the Spear, which is another great. You start this one off on a Warthog driving against a massive Covenant army. Your Warthog gets blown up. You've got to fight up a hill on foot. They drop you off another Warthog. You have to go through this mission. This is the one where you get the rocket hog, and you know your buddy can be on the back there, or the AI can be on the back there using the rockets, and you drive through the stage, and you have to take out these two massive Covenant anti-air guns, and basically they're all guarded by a bunch of Covenant. And after you destroy the AA guns, and then there's one AA gun you destroy using the rocket hog, and then you get to a mining facility. And when you get to that mining facility, you have to get back on foot and fight the Covenant on foot. And you've got a tank shooting at you, and you've got turrets, and you've got all kinds of stuff. And then you get through that part of the map, and you get to another vehicle section where you get to use either the Ghost or the I think it's the Revenant, the little Covenant mini tank. And again, you and your buddy can both ride in that mini tank. He can shoot out the side. You can fire the big, massive plasma blast. Or he can get in a Ghost, and you guys can both have a vehicle with a main weapon and go through it. And it's just awesome. It's a lot of fun. And the vehicles are made part of the game. They're made part of the game that you have to use. It's not like the pikes and stuff in Destiny where it's like you might use them twice in the whole campaign. In the Halo games, the vehicles are a big part of the campaign. They add a very large dynamic and enjoyable gameplay aspect of it. And so after you get on those Covenant vehicles, you go and you take out the second AA gun. And you think that might be the end of the stage because it's been a pretty long stage. You did the objective, which was to take out the two AA guns, but no. Falcon lands, you get in the Falcon, which is like a helicopter, and you fly over to the next part of the stage, and you basically are a gunner on the Falcon, and you get to just take out Covenant left and right using the gun on board, you know, the little grenade launcher on board the Falcon, and it's a little flying stage, and that's another dynamic part of the stage. Of course, then your helicopter crashes, and you have to work your way up into the final part of the stage, which is this large Covenant jamming pylon. Now, you fight your way up a hill, and then you have multiple different ways you can take on the final objective. There's an unarmed truck right there that you can get in, and you can just kamikaze drive down into the massive Covenant guarding this pylon and just jump into the elevator. You can snipe with your battle rifle. You can try to take out the main force of the Covenant and then work your way slowly down. Or the third option you have, which is quite frankly the most awesome, is you can grab a jetpack. There's two Banshees that are circling around, and if you can lure them in to shoot at you, you can actually use the jetpack to fly up into the air, and you can hijack a freaking Banshee in midair. You can then use that Banshee and the Banshee bombs and the plasma cannons to just decimate all the Covenant, and then go up the pylon. Or you can take the freaking Banshee all the way to the very top of the pylon, shoot the Covenant from outside, land it on the top, jump inside, run in, and try to finish the stage. In just one stage of the game, you've got just so much variety in how you can play it and how you can do it. It's just an enjoyable, very enjoyable part of the game. There's even a point in this stage, if you want to try it, it's very difficult. You can hijack a Wraith tank in part of it and use that to just wreak havoc on everything. So the vehicles in Bungie, or in Halo, really just add this huge dynamic to how you can play the stage. And that's why there's a lot of replay value. And I play Reach all the time. This is a game that came out 5 years ago. I play Reach all the time because there's just so much replay value. You can do it. You can play each stage differently every time you do it. Whereas with Destiny, even though it is more open world and you have more movement options, you're just going from point A to point B and doing horde mode every time. Same thing every stage. A game like Reach, a game like the original Halo Combat Evolved, there's different options to play each stage. Like in Combat Evolved, there's assault on the control room where you can use the Warthog with a guy with a rocket, or you can use the tank and just blow everything up. You have different ways you can get into it. You get into stages where you have to take the Banshee and fly it up to different areas in the stage and shut off the power source for Halo. There's just all these different ways that you play each stage. Even though it's a linear progression stage, there's just tons of variety. There's tons of different stuff you can do. And especially when you're playing co-op, it's even more enjoyable. And this is something I was going to say for later on in the game, but it just leads to so many cool moments. Like I was talking about earlier, you can have your friend, you can put him in the Warthog on the cannon, and you can run down and do the objective while he's covering you with machine gun fire. There are stages in Combat Evolved where you can park your Warthog at some rocks where it's covered, and then your buddy stays in the gun. You run off and go irritate the Covenant and get them to follow you, and you come running back and there's laser fire going past you, and the Covenant get there and then they're like, oh crap, and then all of a sudden your buddy just opens up with the Warthog and just wipes them all out. There's all these just amazing little dynamic pieces that you can do in the game that just makes it so much more fun and so much more exciting. And that's one of the things I really loved about the Halo games, and it's, again, one of the reasons I don't understand how this is missing from Destiny, because it's the same company, it's Bungie. Now, I know a lot of people from Bungie probably stayed at 343, but there's got to be enough people at Bungie to get in to really make a better game than what we got. I just don't understand it. And I haven't even gotten into multiplayer yet on Halo. We're still talking about the campaign and how much fun you can have. And that's through, I mean, that goes back to Halo Combat Evolved, which came out, what, 2003? It's been a while. Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach, you just have all this dynamic possibility every time you start a match. It's just great. Just so much replay value, so much fun you can have there. And then let's talk about Long Night of Solace really quick. This is, in my opinion, one of the greatest video game stages I think I've ever played, quite honestly, because basically the part of the plan here is there's this huge Covenant supercarrier, you have to take it out, and the only way that you've figured out to do it is you're going to take a like a hyperdrive. I can't remember what name escapes me right now. It's like the jump drive they use on the ships in Halo. They take it up to, they're going to take the drive and they're going to put it into the ship, and they're going to activate it so that half the ship basically goes into, you know, slip space, and the rest of it stays there, so it blows up the supercarrier. Pretty cool concept. But you start off the stage trying to assault a launch facility to get onto the ship you need to go up into space. So the first part is on foot, and you're fighting on this beach as you make your way up to the launch facility, and then you get into the launch facility. You can grab a rocket launcher. There's a Wraith that's firing up, destroying parts of the facility. You can grab a rocket launcher and take out the Wraith, or you can just keep going and get to the objective. But after this little part on foot, you actually jump into a launch sequence and you take off in your ship and you get into space, and then all of a sudden it becomes you get to actually fly the ship in space, and you've got missiles and you've got guns and you can switch back and forth between them. And there's this space flight combat that's sort of like, if you guys remember, like Rogue Squadron for N64 or any really space flight simulator type game from the kind of a third person perspective. Like if you fly the jets in Battlefield, that's a good example. You basically have an entire part of the stage where you're flying the space fighter against Covenant forces, and you're blowing up their Banshees and their Phantoms and other things that are trying to attack the space station while they're preparing this mission. So you get to fly around and defend, and then the next part of it is you've got to escort your ship to get to the Covenant, smaller Covenant cruiser that's going to refuel with the carrier, and you have to board that Covenant cruiser in space. And it's freaking awesome because you have to fly around and you have to take out the escorts, and then you have to blow up the engine, you have to disable the engines on the ship, and then you have to finally land on that ship, and then it switches back to an on-foot part of the mission where you have to go in, infiltrate the ship, you take out the you take out the guys, the Covenant guys in the ship, you dock the ship with the Covenant cruiser, and you blow it up. And there's some really great cutscenes in this too, because it's when you get into the story, that's part of it. It's also a very fun part of the story, not fun, and just really a great part of the story overall. And that's the thing too about the campaign. It's like in Halo, is you get attached to the characters. There's the character development. There's, you'll have your favorites. You'll have people you can't stand. Like, I don't like Emil, one of the Spartan guys. Can't stand him. Love George. I love Kat. The Carter is kind of like this boring kind of Boy Scout guy, but you have your opinions on the characters. You get to know the characters. You play through a couple stages in Halo, and it's like you've got characters that you care about, characters you hate, characters you hope get killed. There's just all kinds. You go through Destiny. I'll be honest, guys. I've got almost at least 15 days of total play time in Destiny. I can't tell you one character in the game I even care about, except for the freaking Cryptarch, because he screws you over so often. And that should not be the main character development in Destiny. Should not be because it's a broken RNG loot system mechanic character who's giving you crap gear. That should not be character development. And there's all kinds of great characters that could be great characters in Destiny, but there aren't. I don't care about anybody. There's no background, there's no lore. But there is if you want to go read it all for 2 hours on an outside website. And that's another aspect of Bungie with their Halo games is, yes, there is a huge outside wiki and an outside lore and everything to Halo. If you want, there's this massive expanded universe you can go off and read. There's books, there's websites, there's Halo Waypoint, there's all kinds of supportive lore for the game. But the thing is, that lore enhances the experience. It isn't the experience. With Destiny, if you want that lore, you've got to go, and you've got to go outside and find it. With Halo, you can play through the game and understand what's going on because they do a good enough job through the cutscenes and the campaign explaining to you what's going on in the universe, what's going on in the game. You don't have to go outside and find that. You go outside and find that because you want to, because it enhances what's already a good story and good characters. So you don't mind having to go out and look at that stuff later on because it's not part of the game. It enhances the game. That's something Bungie really screwed up in Destiny, in my opinion. But anyways, back, and here we are. We're not even halfway through the campaign, and you guys, look how long I've been talking about this, and how long I've been talking about these missions, because there's just so much to do. There's so much, there's a lot of dynamics. Again, in Exodus, this is another perfect point. You start off this mission again on foot, and then you get to another part where you're in a Falcon again, flying around, shooting Covenant from the Falcon. You land, you have to get on a Warthog and drive around an area, take out some tanks, and reactivate some missile launchers. And there's just so many. Each mission has got its own dynamics. New Alexandria, again, you fly through this whole mission. You're basically in a Falcon, flying a Falcon. Or you can be the gunner. Your buddy can be the gunner. You're flying, or he can fly. You can be the gunner. Whoever's better. You go through, and you've got to take out. You're flying air support. You got to take out turrets on rooftops. You've got to land the Falcon and then get out on foot, go into these skyscrapers and rescue people, and take out Covenant and take out jamming devices, and then get back in the Falcon and fly it across the city and fight Phantoms and fight Banshees. And in the background, there's these huge Covenant ships that are just nuking parts of the city while you're doing this. And it's just an epic dynamic experience. And I'm not even through the end of the campaign yet, guys. I mean, just, and yeah, I'm biased. I love Halo, but still, there's just so much to do here. And we're just talking about the campaign. Even in single player, you get this dynamic feeling when you're going through it. And again, I haven't even gotten into the rest of the stuff here. So, and that's just, we go into matchmaking. One of my things about Destiny was just how much you get to do. And look here, there's actually 17,000 people on Halo Reach right now playing. This is a 5-year-old game, and there's still for a 5-year-old game, that's a pretty good population. Honestly, you can jump on and get, and this is a Sunday. This is not a peak time either. So, Halo Reach actually, a couple weeks ago they were talking about it. It's had more of a population on it recently than Halo the Master Chief Collection, which 343 put out a couple months ago for Xbox One. But that's for another time. Let's just look at this. Let's look at the playlist options you have, just in general for playing. You have your standard list, so you can go in. You can do Team Slayer, 4-on-4 PvP deathmatch. You got Team SWAT, no shields, no sensors. This is just like Inferno, basically, in Destiny. It's just a DMR. It's just headshots. It's a lot of gun skills involved with these kind of games. You can do the same thing with Team Snipers. Living Dead, you basically play as a zombie, and then there's you're a zombie, and then the other team is a bunch of guys trying to kill the zombies. You've got Invasion, Spartans versus Elites. That's the other cool thing in this game. You can play as the enemy faction. You can play as Elites from the Covenant. And that's just the standard first. There's more to do in these 5 little game modes here than there is in all of the Crucible. Then you get into Evolved. You've got Super Slayer. You've got Team Objective. You've got Rumble Pit, which is free-for-all Slayer with some objectives on the side. You've got Double Team. You got Big Team Battle, which has got vehicles, and it's 8-on-8 on these big maps. Multi-team. You've got the Arena. You go into Anniversary, which is what they did with Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition. You can basically just play some Classic and Firefight, Classic Slayer, Classic Firefight. Go into Community, you've got the Major League Gaming. That's kind of old. That's not really current anymore. And you got Griffball. And then you go into Cooperative. You can play Co-op Campaign. You can matchmake to play the Co-op Campaign if you want to, which, again, this is a game that came out in 2010. You've got the option to matchmake to play everything in the campaign. You don't have that option in Destiny. You have it in a couple options, like you can matchmake for strikes, but there's a lot there you can't really do. You've got Score Attack, where you can challenge your friend's score, and then you got Firefight, which is what I like to play a lot, which this is basically 4 players. You go in, and it is kind of a horde mode where you get unlimited ammo, and you're just basically fighting a bunch of Covenant. It's a lot of fun to just screw around with, and it's an addition to the game. The horde mode, it's an addition to the game. It's not the main gameplay mechanic throughout the entire game. That's what I've been trying to stress with people. I see so many people asking for this kind of mode to be the Prison of Elders in the DLC, and I don't know why. Why would you want this as your entire PvE experience? It should just be something on the side to really enjoy. Kind of like in Mass Effect 3, where the co-op horde mode is on the side. It's not the main campaign. I don't know. And again, I just gotta go back to the fact that it's just gamers who really just must not have a lot of experience with games, because they're wanting stuff that's so limited. So then you actually do have a standalone firefight game, which is a little bit more difficult than the matchmaking firefight. You can play this by yourself. You can set up different options. You can set all the. I mean, look at this. You can edit everything. You can turn off how many people are in each wave. Decide what enemies are in each wave. There's just so many options for this. And then you got custom games where you can actually make your own. You can make your own game for PvP. You can make your own. You can pick the map. You can pick the how many players. You can pick the weapons. You can pick the enemy. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much content is here with PvP, with multiplayer. And this is not just Reach. This is pretty much going back through to. Hey, I could load up. I've got Halo Anniversary Combat Evolved, but it was a 343 game, so I don't really want to show that off. But I could go back. I could jump on Master Chief Collection, maybe. But again, it's 343. But still, it's going to show you all the PvP that was there in those older Halo games. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about the content that's available, if the thing about a game like Halo, obviously it's a linear campaign, and people will say, "Oh, you can only play it for so many hours." Now, there's a lot of replay value there, but I can see that argument as well. You've got the Forge, which basically with the Forge, you can go in and make your own content. You can make your own PvP stuff. You can make your own, stuff to play with your friends. You've got just all kinds of different stuff you can do here. You can go through all the different maps. Now, some of these you'll have to, you may have had to have the DLC for, but it wasn't a very expensive DLC, and it was DLC that enhanced PvP. It wasn't DLC that you had to buy to enjoy the game. I have never purchased one bit of DLC for any of the Halo games, with the exception of Halo 4, and I have enjoyed the PvP and found myself with plenty of matches, plenty of people to play. Never had to wait very long for the matches, but you got all kinds of stuff here. Now, you've also got file share. We'll get into that in a second, but that's the Forge. Then you got theater mode. And what you can do in theater mode is you can watch any of your game modes that you played. If you played the campaign, if you played PvP, let's say you went on a freaking sword spree in PvP that you thought was awesome. You can go in here and get a clip of that and upload it to Halo Waypoint and share with your friends and let everybody else see it. There's just so much to do here. This is a game that came out 5 years ago, and look at the amount of content you have. And theater mode is amazing. Forge and theater by themselves are what made Halo just amazing and made it a great community, because there's so much sharing in the community. People will go in and share their videos, share their gameplay. Everybody will talk about it. There's a very good community. Here's the thing, I haven't even really gotten into. We're gonna go in. There's a whole nother section here. You've got more in-game and more in-game and end-game progression. Now let's go to the Armory. This is basically the customization in Reach, and you unlock these various armor pieces as you go through the game for doing missions. You can purchase. You see down there, I've got 38,994 credits. You earn credits for basically killing stuff and getting commendations and other things in the game. And you can, pick different helmets, and you can buy different customization options for each helmet. But I mean, there's a lot of, and this is just for your headpiece here. You've got a lot of armor options there. Now, I know it's not like Destiny. Your loot, there's no loot, and the armor doesn't really affect your game. It just makes you look cool. And you've got a lot of different options here. You can see you can change your shoulders. You can have your left shoulder be different than your right shoulder. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do. There's still stuff I haven't even unlocked having this game for a while. So, it's just one area of, this is just customization that's just there. It's not, you don't have to grind. Well, you do have to grind a little bit to unlock it, but you don't have to grind to get loot drops, and it's all random. And again, I understand it's a different part of the game. It's not like Destiny where you have to use the gear to do better in the game, but it's a very cool kind of, it gives you something to work for when you're doing the campaign, when you're doing PvP, and it adds replay value. You've got all these different, you can even change the voice of your character if you want.
Need a little help with something? Don't worry, I've got your back.
So you've got all kinds of different voices you can use here, and you can unlock with those with credits. There's Nathan Fillion. He actually did some good voice work for this game. He's not just a stupid NPC that you don't care about. But anyway, and then here you've got your own customizable emblems you can make for your character. You've got different colors, and even though it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of colors here, you can change the colors on everything. It really leads to a lot of neat customization options. And it's funny, you look at Destiny, all the Guardians, we all, for the most part, look the same, and that's one of the things that's cool about this game. And even though I know the loot systems, there's not the loot system, and you're not using your gear for loot, it's just cool that everybody can look different, and everybody can have different colors and different armor pieces. And then you use this character in the campaign, you can actually see that character interacting with the other characters in the game, and it's very cool because you become part of the story. In Destiny, you're just kind of a nameless, faceless Guardian. Oh, you've been dead a long time. You know, I don't even have time to explain what I don't have time to explain. Just go kill stuff and shut up. You know, go kill stuff, trade in engrams. That's it. That's your story. That's your legend. That's your Guardian. So, and then you've got a lot of other stuff here. You can look at your service record. Obviously, you can change your preferred species when you play PvP if you want to be an elite. Even with your elite, there's not as much of a customization, but you can actually change your armor that you'll use when you're an elite. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty neat. So that gives you something else you can do. You got file browsers. Like I said, if you want to do file share, you can see I've actually got 21 films and clips saved. You can look at your go in and see what you've got here for your game modes and everything. You can actually, the cool thing about this too, I didn't mention with the Forge, is people can build their own firefight modes and other game modes and make challenges. You can actually, if you know one of your friends, or just people could go on the forums and put their gamer tag, you could go into their file share and actually pull out their game files and play their game files, play their challenge modes. Just extensive replay value there, just amazing. Obviously you can change your controller. Then the cool thing here is you do have challenges. Then these still, even 343, I'll give them a little bit of credit. They still have been letting these run even, and this is a 5-year-old game. Every day there's new challenges to do in Reach that you can go in and do all this. It's kind of like, I guess you would compare it to the bounties in Destiny, but you know, these give you credits to buy armor and stuff. And then you can go to Halo Waypoint, which is a very cool outside website you can use. And there was one other thing, maybe it's under player. Yes, if you go to service record, there are commendations here. Now, commendations are, they have them for the campaign, they have them for matchmaking, and they have them for firefight. This is kind of another in-game progression system where you earn credits by doing these. Like if you look at a walking tank, you earn a multi-kill during the campaign. And there's different levels. There's bronze, silver, gold, onyx for these. So another cool progression system that works through the PvP and also through the campaign. So, I mean, that's just so much content there. Just so much content there. It's really kind of crazy. And lastly, I'm going to show you guys something really cool. We'll just let this campaign load really quick. And I want to show you guys a feature that was achievable in 2010 that apparently has somehow not been achievable for Bungie in 2014. So here we are. Okay, well, that actually didn't work because I resumed this from a point in the game where I'd already skipped it. But what I was trying to show you guys there is you can skip the cutscene. That was actually part of the gameplay of that stage. It wasn't actually a cutscene. So let me back out here, and I'll get this on here because I don't want to look like an idiot. So let's change it to, let's just do sword base. Give this a second to load, and then I'll show you guys the cutscene skip feature, which works even if you're playing co-op. But as you can see, guys, I've sat here and rambled on for almost 30 minutes about Halo in just this one game. This is Reach, and this content that's in Reach is in every single Halo game that Bungie made and Bungie developed on a, honestly, what I would say is probably a much smaller budget than what they had for Destiny. So it just really baffles me to see Bungie now versus Bungie then, see the amount of content you got in those games versus what you have now. And again, even the co-op experience in Halo was so much better because you have the chance to make all these epic moments when you're playing with your friends. You know, like I said, with the vehicles, they add such a huge dynamic, and it's something Bungie just completely ignored in Destiny. You know, the vehicles gave you such a different way to play different stages. You didn't have to play always on foot. You had all these different variety. And you could do all kinds of crazy stuff with a Warthog. I mean, you could jump it off hills onto Phantoms and all kinds of cool stuff. All right, so here we are. We're in a cutscene on sword base. I'm going to hit the A button, and you're going to see up in the left-hand corner there's a Y button to skip. So we're going to press that. And there we go. That took all of, what, 2 seconds? And we just basically skip through the whole cutscene there, and now we can go in and we can play the game. So very cool. feature that was in a game back in 2010. It's been in games, even in like Mass Effect the original, which came out a long time ago. You can skip through the dialogue scenes and the cutscenes and stuff. So there you have it, guys. Very cool feature, and we're going to go ahead and end the video on that because I just wanted to make sure you guys got to see that. To see that that is something Bungie knew how to do 5 years ago, but somehow can't figure it out now. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It ran a little bit longer than what I thought it would, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys, give you more of the background on why I really used to love Bungie and why I no longer really care about them and why I don't think they are a good company anymore with regards to how they support Destiny and how they work on Destiny and how they communicate to us about Destiny. I just don't feel like they're anywhere near the Bungie that we used to enjoy. And that is why I'm so critical of them. So that hopefully will explain it to you guys. And you can see that when I'm being critical of Destiny, it's not because I hate the game. It's because I see the amount of potential the game has compared to what Bungie used to do in the past. And I want to see the game reach that potential. I want to see the game that we were advertised, the game that was shown to us in 2013. That was going to be this epic, like, MMO, shared world shooter, sci-fi mashup with Halo and Mass Effect type stuff with, you know, competent story and all kinds of other fun stuff. Because I'm just going to read real quick. Destiny is a next-generation first-person shooter with rich cinematic storytelling. No, it's not. Set in huge worlds to explore, create and customize your Guardian, defeat your enemies, become a legend in intense, cooperative, competitive, and innovative public gameplay modes. There's nothing innovative about Destiny. I'm sorry. There's stuff that's innovative about Halo with vehicles and everything else. There's nothing. Destiny's very at its root. It's a very simple, very repetitive, content-lacking shooter game, and it continues just the theme we've had recently of stagnant games in the FPS genre. It's nothing compared to what was advertised and shown to us. That's the game I really want, and I just think that Activision maybe has something to do with it. I don't know, but it seems like they just really advertised Destiny based on Bungie's name. Quite honestly, is the way I feel about it. That's the reason when the minute they announced Destiny, I went out and pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered this game, 2 years before it was even available? Like an idiot, because I had such an enjoyable time with Halo. So, a very disappointing experience with Destiny so far. Even though I do play the game, like I said, there's tons of great things about it. Great mechanics, great soundtrack, great art. And I keep on playing because I'm going to get to House of Wolves. I paid for the expansions early, and I'm just hoping that they're going to improve the game. I'm hoping that they're going to make it better and make it more like what we used to get from Bungie. So there you have it, guys. I really appreciate it if you stay through this whole video and listen to me ramble. This was really something I'd been wanting to make for a while to kind of show you the reason that, when I am, getting on Bungie all the time about Destiny, it's because this is what we could have had. You look back at the past, and it's like, you guys did this 5 years ago. Why can't you do it now? So, anyways, guys, again, appreciate you hanging around. Thank you for watching the whole video if you made it through. Let me know your comments below. Let me know if you're an old Halo fan, what you liked about that series. Let me know, what you like just in general about Halo or Destiny, or what you feel is lacking. So, anyways, guys, it's been TechnoViking23 bringing you this Bungie comparison. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys again next time.